And welcome back to the SaaS Marketing Weekly podcast with me, your host, Ryan, the founder of Rocket SaaS. And today we are back in the studio with statistically our most popular guest of all time, Jess Chilman, the head of growth here at Rocket SaaS. Of all the 60 plus SaaS Marketing Weekly podcasts we've done, yours is the most listened to. So Jess, welcome back.
Thank you for having me. I'm here to beat the record.
Okay, the record is, I don't know how, it's thousands of listens.
Thousands.
It's a lot.
Well, we've got a good episode coming up, so I'm optimistic.
We do, yeah. So if you want to listen back or watch back to Jess's episode, it's number 46 of the SaaS Marketing Weekly podcast. That was all about how to build your personal brand if you're a founder, how to build it on LinkedIn. But we're not talking about that today. Today, we are talking about how to land bigger clients. So if you are currently going after relatively low ticket clients, mid-level clients, you want to push up to enterprise level, 6-figure deals, but you're just not sure how to do that. Your business is perhaps not positioned to do that. That's what we're going to be going through today. So there's 5 campaigns, right?
Yeah.
So 5 different campaign ideas that you can implement to go after C-suite. So, Jess, if we are going after these big clients, we haven't really done it before, where do we start?
Yes. So the first thing you need to start with is your targeting. So you need to know who you're going after. And the way we always start at Rocket SaaS is by looking at the data you currently have, which is your client base. So a good acronym that we came up with is BFG. So buyers. Look at who the first touch point is in your inbound leads. Who are those leads coming from? And then also look who the key decision maker or your key contact is on the deal once it gets going. So that's the B. F is for Firmographics. So this is pretty standard stuff, but you need to segment your data based on the company size, based on how many employees there is, their revenue, and their industry. So we're looking for patterns here of where your most profitable buyers are and where most of your deals land. And then the final one is G. So what geography should we be basing these campaigns in? Is it UK? Are they in Australia, etc.? So what we want to do is we want to get all this data, build it out into spreadsheets. Now we need to dive a little bit deeper. So we need to make sure that our largest customer segment is our most profitable. So what we're going to do is we're going to test the hypothesis that most of our deals are in fintech, they're with the CFO, in companies that are mid-market, so 200 to 1,000 employee headcount. Now what we want to look at is the deal size. So how big are the deals within that segment? We want to look at the conversion rates, how well we converting those opportunities versus other segments. And then we also want to be looking at things like churn, LTV, etc. So the campaign tactics we're going to go into on this episode, they're a little bit more high effort. So we want to make sure we're really drilling down to our perfect customer and the people that love our product and getting the most value out of it. So that's where we start with the BFG.
Love it. All right. So you're initially looking at your current customers. So in your CRM, like HubSpot, for example, just going through all of those and what you're looking for some existing customers that already meet this criteria of a bigger client, like an enterprise client, for example.
Exactly that. And then what we need to do once we have that list is we need to look outside of the organization. So we need to make sure that the segment we've highlighted as where we want to go after, our golden goose, there is a big enough TAM, so a total addressable market. Is there enough opportunity and enough companies that fit that ICP criteria for us to go after? So that's the first thing. Then we also just want to look at things like different acquisition channels. So can we afford to go after that segment? We want to look at things like, are our competitors going after that vertical or industry? And just generally get a sense of like that market outside of our organization. And if it all seems to make sense, if there's enough opportunity there, it's scalable for us, then we're going all in with our 5 tactics to get that 100K ACV.
Okay, nice. So if you've already got these big clients in your CRM and there's a few of them and you want to get more, you talked about, it's kind of extracting that and trying to clone them. But what happens if you are going after these bigger deals and you've never landed a big deal? You haven't got this data in your CRM. We've got nothing to kind of go off. What's the approach there?
So this happens for a lot of companies because you have to start somewhere when you're moving up market, right? So you don't always have that data. So you can go with gut instinct. and intuition if you feel like there's a certain segment where you should be playing, but it's not recommended. I think you should really start with research. So if you can't go to your CRM, some of the tactics we'll go into later on in this podcast will help you interview and survey your ICP. But I know we're going for a similar challenge at Rocket SaaS. So do you want to talk about how we're tackling that?
Yeah. So we are going after bigger clients. So this podcast that we're making right now, we're going after those big deals as well. The majority of Rocket SaaS clients are more in the kind of startup, early stage of scale up. And I'd much love to get bigger deals. So we've had a lot of internal meetings about how do we go about that. So we did what you just recommended there. The first thing we did was look at the existing clients that we have got at that size. And then we determined what do they care about that the perhaps smaller companies don't care about, and kind of like vice versa. So we started interviewing our clients. Now you've interviewed a few of them to say, what do you really care about? Like for example, at Rocket SaaS, a lot of the larger companies don't actually care that much about lead gen because they've already got their lead gen engine kind of happening. They more need support in like getting campaigns out the door faster, making the brand look more slick, maybe some LinkedIn ads retargeting work as well. And it's more like individual things they need rather than like the full package. So that was quite interesting to learn about that. And then the other thing that we're doing is a survey. So we've only got about probably like 6 or 7 clients that are in that kind of perfect fit, which is a decent amount, but I'd love to get information from more like 50 different companies of this size. So the way to do it is to survey. So there's a tool that a lot of you will have heard of called Winter, spelled WYNTER. It's not cheap. It's sort of like $5-6 grand to run a survey. But the reason why it's expensive is because the targeting is so good. So we're just about to launch that survey in terms of we're able to pick exactly who these companies are, exactly who we want to target. We can target relatively senior people because it's so expensive and they pay these people a lot of money to take the survey. And we're really excited to get the data back. So we're asking them questions about what do they look for in a marketing agency, what skills are they lacking in-house, what metrics do they care about the most, and it's just going to give us all this data which is going to fuel our content creation. Like the future podcast, for example, that we're going to be doing on this show are going to be more geared towards what those types of companies care about. The ads that we run are going to be focused all around that. So we're going to basically interview our existing customers and survey the ones that we don't have yet.
And then I think another thing you can do if you're a small organization is look at intent signals. So whilst you might not have loads of deals in the funnel or loads of closed customers, you can look at intent and where your potential customers are to build this ICP list that we're going to go after with these campaigns. So things you can look at are your company's intent signals. So are there any big companies that are visiting your website? Are there any big companies that are engaging a lot with your ads, opening your emails, et cetera, et cetera? But there's also a lot more sophisticated intent signals that you can build to create this list of ideal customers. So there's external tools that are quite expensive like Bombora, et cetera, where people are researching, say, for onboarding software or whatever it is that your organization might do. But there's a lot more sophisticated AI tools as well, where you can really drill down into different buyer intent signals. So if you have something quite niche, like a company should be gearing up for a merger and acquisition, and that's a perfect time for them to buy your tool, or they should have hired 50 employees in the last 6 months, AI agents can now do that work for you and find those companies that are at that perfect state and have those firmographics layered on, and you can build your dream list there. Again, I think Rocket SaaS is looking into Clay.
So we're using Clay at the moment. So one of my favorite intent signals for us and also for a lot of our clients, a lot of people in the B2B SaaS space, is hiring. So for Rocket SaaS, if a company like a startup or a scale up is hiring a marketing manager or a marketing executive, that means that they are investing in marketing. Or if they got a new CMO coming in, that means that that CMO is probably likely to come into the company and start to rip things up and go, no, I want to do things differently. I want to bring in a new agency. And that's the same for B2B SaaS companies. Like if you're a HR SaaS and you've got intent data to say that these companies are currently trying to hire a new HR manager, that new HR manager is probably going to come in and maybe be looking to shake up the tech. So that is clear intent that they may be looking for a new software provider. Another classic for pretty much any company, I would think, would be raising funding. So again, to use us as an example, if there's a B2B SaaS company out there that's just raised seed or Series A funding, then working with Rocket SaaS is an obvious next step that they might be considering. So when we get an intent signal, this company raised money, it was announced 2 days ago, we should be jumping on that. We should be targeting them with LinkedIn ads. We should be getting our salesperson to be reaching out to them. We should be sending them LinkedIn DMs. I should be connecting with the founder and the marketing person on LinkedIn. And it's just kind of go from there. We should be doing campaigns targeting them. And again, it is the same for B2B SaaS companies. So they're my sort of two favorites, hiring or raising funding are the other two.
Yeah. And are we using Clay.io to build those?
Yeah. So there's multiple different tools that can do it. I mean, Crunchbase is the classic for funding. So it's very similar to tools like Apollo or like LinkedIn Sales Navigator. You can add various different filters of companies, location, headcount, industry, and then a nice little button that says, tell me if they've raised funding over the last 12 months or 6 months, something like that. But now, there's other tools that can do it too. There's Clay is one of the fastest growing tools out there for doing this sort of thing. And it can also layer on lots of other interesting data actually. So Clay does more than just intent data. Clay, for example, it can find a list of companies, like thousands of companies, and then it kind of goes onto each of those companies' websites with like a LLM style thing that reads all of the content on their website, reads their blogs, goes on the founder of the business's LinkedIn page, reads his or her posts, and just gives you this like extra data. So it might say, for example, here's a company in the UK, they got 51 people, and they just posted a blog about HR tech, and their CEO has just done a post on LinkedIn complaining about his technology stack in HR or something. And then it's like, red lights start going off. This is high intent. So there's some very intelligent tools out there, and Clay being one of them, to basically help you define this list of who are these ideal companies that you want to be going after.
Nice. And I've also heard of Perplexity, Keyplay, Evergrowth, just in case people are researching what the right intent tool is for them. So there's loads of things out there. And I think I've heard of some clients building their own intent scraping AI agents as well. So depending on how techy you are, there are some cheap workarounds.
There's I don't know if it's cheap to build it yourself, but I mean, we're doing one for a client of ours at the moment. It's very techy, and it's only specifically going after companies that have got this particular tech on their website. Thankfully, the code is in the metadata, so we can scrape all these websites to see whether they've got that code on their website. If they do, then that's an intent signal for us that we should be going after them. So there's various different ways that you can kind of scrape data to build up this list. But ultimately what you're saying is, I guess you can go on tools like LinkedIn Sales Navigator to find your ideal customers that you want to go after. But the danger is that it could be too big, because the campaigns that we're talking about today is more like an ABM play, where you want to be having a small targeted list of companies that you want to go after to make these campaigns effective, as opposed to going on LinkedIn Campaign Manager, and it may well pull out tens of thousands of companies, which I think the campaigns we're about to go into on the next episode is not quite going to work for. This is a bit more of an ABM play. So you want to be getting about 200 companies probably max to go after, would you say?
Yes. So you should be aiming for around 200 up to 500 companies. It depends on the campaign you're running. And as we run through each different campaign tactic, we'll give you a rough number of accounts you should be targeting. But in summary, most important step, don't skip it, is building a high intent list. So we're segmenting the data in our CRM, BFG, buyer, Firmographics, and geography. We're looking at intent data signals, both internally on our website in our CRM, but also external. What are those buyer signals as well? And we're going to end up with this consolidated account list where we feel confident that these are our right buyers. And then all the campaigns we'll go into will be making sure we get it right in front of them.
Okay. And then one thing that I wanted to add about going after bigger companies and going after bigger deals is a bit of a warning that if you are not used to going after these bigger deals, if you've you've never landed these big clients before, if you're used to going after smaller companies, and maybe your CEO is just like, I want bigger deals, that is a bit of a warning. Like, is your brand set up for that? Is your website messaging set up for that correctly? Is your positioning, like your sales deck, even your pricing, is that positioned to go after these bigger companies? Like, I've made that mistake at Rocket SaaS before. I remember one day kind of hearing about, I think when Trump got elected to be the president of America for the second time, and there's this huge excitement about this boom in the economy that was going to happen. And I was like, we need to get into America. There's this huge boom, and they're obviously massive in SaaS out there. So I was like, okay, let's just bring on some American clients. So let's just spin up some ads, do the same ads that we run to the UK, just change the targeting to be America. I did pick the correct cities, didn't just target the whole of America. So like New York and Texas, things like that. And it kind of flopped. I think I spent about 10 grand on ads and got like a couple of crap leads from it. And then I sort of took a step back and was like, well, our website talks about how we're a London agency, and all of our case studies are mostly from UK companies, and our pricing is in pounds and not dollars, and all these things. And I was like, yeah, that probably wasn't the smartest thing to do. Should have at least spun up a US landing page, changed the pricing to dollars, created some case studies for some of the American clients that we do already have. Like, you can't just kind of go into it without having, if your brand and website messaging is not there. And also, if you are about to embark on doing these campaigns, going after bigger deals, you obviously need to make sure that you've got alignment from the key players in the business. Presumably, leadership are going to be on board with this, because they're probably the people that came up with the idea. But also sales. So if the sales team are going to be changing the way that they pitch, they're going to be pitching to bigger companies, need to make sure that the deck is got the correct messaging, because like I mentioned earlier, the challenges that larger companies have is going to be different to the challenges that smaller companies have. They're going to care more about things, less about other things, and the sales team need to perhaps rehearse their script, change their outreach messages to just kind of suit that. So you just need to make sure sales are aligned, and then obviously you need to just make sure that you've got the tech to run all of these campaigns that we want to run. So we've got the target in, we've got our list of 200 odd companies that we want to go after, these big boy clients that have got loads of money. How are we going to go after them with these clever marketing campaigns? So I know you've got 5 campaign ideas that you want to share. Let's get into it. What's the first campaign that can attract these big clients?
So the first tactic we're going to start with is research outreach. What this essentially is asking your ICP to co-create content with you. So a very simple play is, I'm doing a article or an ebook on the state of X. The more you can niche and narrow down the topic, the better. I would love you to, give your expertise on X. So what you're doing here is you're basically leaning into their ego and asking them to add value to a report. Now, why would they do this? There's a few ways you can get people in. So the first one is if you have any communities or partners you can lean on. So if they're a part of the X co-working community and that's your target market, you could affiliate yourself with that community and ask them to outreach. The second reason is the free publicity angle. So a lot of people are trying to build their personal brands. If you can promise to give them their logo on the front or their headshot in the article and snippets to share on social, etc., that could be enticing for people. And then the final piece is just asking for help. So I know people don't want to help, but if you have people in your network that can connect you with someone, they're far more willing to help. I mean, I personally have tested products for people because someone in my network's asked them to help out their friend. So that's a free way you can get people to lean into this campaign. And what you're essentially doing is, you're building some sort of lead magnet based on all the insights of the exact person that you're trying to target, but also you're qualifying that account and you're finding out about their challenges and their goals. So what I would normally do is a very highly personalized outbound sequence from your SDR team to your target list, and get your BDRs to run these surveys, collect all the insights in like a one-to-one phone call, then you can document it, and then you get your marketing team to create lots of magic moments from that. So how can we make our ICP feel really good once they've given us their time? We're going to post them on our social media. We're going to try and go to the press with it. If you've got a good PR team, we might feature them in a newsletter. Just lots of things to feel like, wow, I've really been heard here. And then also what we're going to do is take all those insights, all those learnings, and we're going to put them into our demand gen machine.
Yeah, no, I like that. I mean, that's worked on me. I haven't created the campaign, but someone else created the campaign and outreach to me to see if I wanted to input into an article, and I did. I will kind of caveat by saying that wasn't a completely cold outreach. The person had already built a kind of LinkedIn friendship with me. So that person connected with me on LinkedIn, like, I don't know, probably years ago. They comment on my posts every now and then. We kind of DM each other about various kind of marketing bits and bobs. He actually invited me onto his podcast. So we kind of created a professional relationship. So when the time came that he wanted me to take part in writing an article, I almost felt rude to say no. He made it relatively light touch for me. He basically told me what to say. Just said, could I add a little bit of flavor to it? So it didn't take up too much of my time. And he then kind of added a sweetener by saying, we will have you as a co-author. We will publish it on our website. We'll have a link back to your website, which is good for SEO. So yeah, I mean, it worked for me, or worked on me. But I will say that it's tough to do cold, if you get a message from someone that you've never heard of before. So this just leans into even more so the fact your previous episode that you were on, of SaaS Marketing Weekly, episode 46, where you talk about building a personal brand, building connections, building LinkedIn friends. It pays off in the long term when you want to start doing stuff like this and doing campaigns and actually, really firming up that relationship so you're gearing up to sell to them. Because ultimately, if you are going after these big deals, unfortunately, it takes a bit more time and it takes nurturing, and it's nurturing of relationships, friendships, usually done on LinkedIn. So yeah, that's how it's worked kind of on me before.
Yeah, I've seen it get up to a 70% reply rate in the past, but once again, it has been slightly warm. It hasn't been one-to-one connections, but it's been people in our CRM that was showing intent, and then it was lower touch. So we were asking them to fill out a survey rather than a one-to-one phone call. So there's loads of different ways you can scale this up or down. But the main goal is to get in front of your ICP and get them to contribute to a PR piece. Or alternatively, you can ask people to join a customer advisory board. So ask people to test your product for free. And the value exchange there would be you can get a year worth of free usage or really good discounts or whatever that looks like. And once again, that could be a good way to get people to test feedback, but just get in front of them and get them talking. So I think the key takeaway is like creating a value exchange for this tactic. So in terms of how it actually would play out and how I'd execute it, the first thing I would do is seed the research. So I'd lean into industry friends, partners, customers, and get them to contribute initially. So then when you are reaching out to your ICP, you can be like, oh, we've already got X, Y, and Z who featured in this. Would you like to also comment, especially if you can leverage some big logos or big names, and then it feels like, oh, okay, I'm going to elevate my presence alongside those big startups or whoever they are. So I'd seed the research, then I would do the outreach, make sure it's really personalized, things like Meet Alfred, where you can basically DM your first connections at scale, really useful for that, but also multi-channel outreach where you're also doing email sequences, etc. Collect the outreach, create those magic moments with your marketing team. And then this is all about alignment with sales, making sure that follow-up process is really tight. So making sure that once they've contributed, you have at least 3 more touch points where you can go back and say, hey, great news, we've had over 100 downloads on this ebook already. Or, hey, I just want to say thanks again. I just got this lovely bit of feedback from X, Y, and Z on your chapter that you contributed to. So what we're trying to do is like build a relationship off something where we've only taken a small moment of their time, but we're making sure they know about us and that they have a really positive experience.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Or if it is a white paper that you're printing and maybe handing out at exhibitions, you can post it to them. It always feels good when you hold something physical in this kind of digital AI world that we're living in. So in terms of, okay, you've got them to feature on the article, and in terms of turning that into actual demos and revenue, you're saying you just follow up with them afterwards, thank them, share the success that the article's had, and then politely ask if they'd be interested in having a demo.
Yeah, and I think you can personalize that. They'll normally tell you about a challenge or a goal as a part of their contribution. And you can say, hey, I know you're struggling with X. We actually just built a feature that tackles that. We'd love you to test it. And it's just a nice way. Or I'd love to show you it and get your feedback. So you're not saying, can you now demo my product? You're sort of like leaning into what they've told you. And then like, once again, sort of like trying to tease your product into the conversation by asking for a favor. And like you said, where you felt like you had to help, you have that, like they have a bit more awareness and they're more likely to say, yeah, sure, send it over. I'd love to check it out.
Yeah, it just comes down to that personal relationship. If you're kind of LinkedIn friends and you've already contributed to an article and you've had loads of DMs and you've had a chat about the article maybe and then asking for demos, like sometimes you would do it out of courtesy. And then when you do the demo, you're like, actually, this demo looks really good, so I'm going to buy. So yeah, I like it. Okay, tactic number 2, what's it going to be?
Tactic number 2 is a podcast. Absolutely love a podcast. I know every man and his dog currently has a podcast. You might be thinking, oh, this is nothing new. But a lot of companies aren't using it for ABM or to win these bigger deals. So this is how this would play out. So similar to tactic number 1, where we spoke about research outreach, what we're doing again is we're giving people a platform for some free PR and we're playing into their ego. So we're saying, oh, hi, John, CFO at massive company. I'd really love your insights on the recent merger you went through. Can you jump on my podcast and tell us about it? A lot of CFOs, CEOs, CPOs, whatever it is, I think they're quite naturally inclined to believe that people would want their time, and genuinely people will listen to the episode and want to hear what they have to say. So it's easier than you'd think to get a completely cold contact onto a podcast than you'd think.
Yeah, and it gives them an opportunity to promote their brand.
Exactly.
So you make that clear in the outreach. So you come onto the podcast, we'll talk about this topic, and you'll also get a chance to promote company.
Exactly. And I think where you're starting a new podcast and you might not be able to shout about listenership, etc., again, seeding that research and getting your network to go on the podcast beforehand. If you have any good logos that are customers or just friends, once again saying, join X, Y, and Z. We'd love you to feature alongside them. It really helps pitch that in when it's cold outreach. So this is really great at building relationships with C-suite decision makers, getting in front of them, and you are essentially having a one-on-one conversation for an hour. So it's very hard to forget you after that. And I think as long as you pick a podcast topic that is of interest to that ICP that we've narrowed down into, but also lends itself to educate them on what you do as a company and a product. So it's a two-way conversation. It really sets you up to then fast track that sale. You've got in with the decision maker. If you then say, oh, are your sales team also struggling with the problem we discussed today? I'd love to have a chat if you could connect me. It just makes it a lot easier. I think with the sales follow-up, my recommendation would be don't ever ask for a direct demo. I would always ask for a connection to someone internally because they're more likely to do that. Or ask if they're the right decision maker that should be buying your product. Ask them if they could check something out or if you could float an idea by them on a demo after.
Yeah, so I think it's a great play. The SaaS Marketing Weekly podcast, we don't do it as an ABM play. I've never had somebody on the couch that I've wanted to sell to, but I might do. I think it's a good idea. We do it differently. We do it as a top of funnel play. So we teach people about marketing and hopefully they therefore see Rocket SaaS as a brilliant marketing agency that knows what they're talking about. And I think I'd quite like to work with them. But yeah, I am aware that the ABM play where you identify potential customers that could work with you, get them onto the pod, you get a great conversation happening. And then similar to the previous tactic that you outlined is that you've built that friendship. So for you to finish the podcast with them, you created that professional relationship, and then to say, oh, tell me a bit more about that problem that you're suffering from. Do you know about our tool? Have you been on our website? Do you know what it is? Would you be interested in that? Then you're likely to get a demo, or they might say to you, not right for us, but I do know so-and-so that's interested in it, because you're just creating that network. And when you're building friendships and building professional relationships, you do just open up that network of people that know people that know people. And that's just an amazing way to sell, particularly to these big companies that are quite hard to sell to. And also, I almost forgot, if you are thinking about starting your own podcast, then you should listen to episode 50 of the SaaS Marketing Weekly podcast, because that is where I go through the steps on how you can start your own podcast, from branding it to creating a logo, the software, the hardware, the topics, the guests, all of those things. So check that out. But let's move on to campaign number 3.
Campaign number 3. So you'll start to see a reoccurring theme now, and it's all about building relationships. But this time we're going to do it with an event. So in real life, events are exceptional at building relationships. They're really successful, but I think so many companies shy away from them because you're scared no one's going to turn up.
And the cost.
And, well, I don't think it does need to cost a lot.
Well, I know what you're leading on to, that it's going to be a more lower cost event. But yeah, when you think event, in your mind, you picture big room, 100 people, canapes, free alcohol for everybody.
I want to go to that event.
Stages, all that stuff. And you think, I'm not even going to entertain the idea of events. But you're going to be speaking about...
Well... yeah, a bit more of a practical way to start off, for sure, and a bit more of a low effort way. So there's 2 different events that I've seen work really well for helping companies move up market and close deals faster. So the first one is the MVP option. So that is hosting a event at a local restaurant, etc. But rather than booking a private room, you just book a big table and you use it as a networking session. So you invite, let's say, 10 people, you sit at the back, you set up, and you have a topic that you're all going to discuss. This is a lot less scary because if people don't turn up, it's a lot less formal. It's not you standing at the front of the room with a whiteboard. You can scale it up and down if more or less people show up. And it's also a lot less scary as an attendee. I don't feel like I'm going to be sold to. I feel a lot more relaxed in that informal environment. And it's just a great way to mix with like-minded leaders, share common issues. And, who doesn't love a brekkie? So, if you're interested in those sort of events, caveat, DM Ryan, because we are running some of them at Rocket SaaS and they are going very well. So if you want to meet like-minded marketing leaders in London, coming to a cinema near you.
Yeah, not coming to a cinema near you. We're not rented the cinema. We do have the IMAX, the Waterloo IMAX, the biggest cinema in Europe, just around the corner, just around the corner from our office. So one day I will rent the IMAX and do a big Rocket SaaS event there, but we're not quite there yet. Maybe 2026. But yeah, we are doing not the IMAX. We are doing some breakfast events where we are going to do an ABM play. So we're going to have sort of 2 or 3 people from Rocket SaaS at a local cafe near us. We're going to rent a table of 12 and we're going to try, the plan is to get 10 prospects coming as well. So it's going to be me, Jamie, Jess, maybe some other people from Rocket SaaS, and then sort of 6, 7, 8, 9 people that we want to hopefully sell to. And we're just going to have an open conversation about demand generation. It's going to be a bit of a round table, how we can help them solve their marketing challenges. Everyone gets a bit of free breakfast. And then hopefully some of them will really enjoy the chat. It will strengthen the relationship that we've got with those people around the table. It's not going to cost a fortune. The company's just got to pay for breakfast for 12 people. It's probably, 15 quid a head. But from the 10 people that we invite, all it takes is one person to say, yeah, I'm interested in working with you. And we just made an ROI in multiple thousands. Or even if nobody works with us at the first event, if somebody works with us after 5 breakfasts, we've still made probably quite a considerable ROI, because our deals at Rocket SaaS, if a client stays with us for a year, we're going to make between 60 and 100,000 pounds, revenue, not profit. So yeah, throwing out a few free breakfasts is well worth it. So yeah, that's something that we're going to be doing. Thanks to your expertise, actually. I think it was your idea to do that because you've run this play before. So yeah, I look forward to coming back on the pod in a few weeks rather than months' time to talk about the results and how the event went, what we did, how we ran it, what we talked about. Because I'm a little bit scared about what it should be. We've done loads of back and forth. If we were at a breakfast event with 12 people, is it like a webinar where I'm just talking at people, but there's not going to, I don't want to spin a laptop round at a breakfast table and show everyone. So no, don't want to do that. I want to make it more of a conversation. But what if half the people sit there and don't say anything and just scoff their croissants down? So how do we make that work? So we basically decided that we're going to do a little bit of a chat that me, Jamie, and Jess are going to talk about demand gen and what we're seeing successfully working in the B2B SaaS space. And then we're going to kind of go around the table and say, what is everyone struggling with? Or what results have you seen? Just to try and get conversation happening and just try and so everyone walks away by being inspired. Hopefully their problem has been on the way to being solved, or they've got a new campaign idea, and then they've met like 11 other really helpful, inspiring people, and they think, love Rocket SaaS, I'm going to work with them.
It's going to be beautiful.
Hope so.
I think just think about your ICP. So certain stakeholders really lend themselves to that informal networking. Some are a bit more formal and will expect a bit more structure or not. So absolutely love the MVP version we just discussed. Lovely informal breakfast. Also, another event play we're running for a client is a more formal breakfast structure. So hiring a private room in a restaurant, having a presentation and having a long table with senior C-suite where they all sort of share their ideas and thoughts again and network, but it's a sit-down dinner. So when running a breakfast event, I think you need to think about what the hook is. Is it networking? Is it you've got an impressive speaker? Is it that you've got a lovely venue of good food? There has to be something that's like, wow, I want to be there. And that's the MVP version. There's a slightly different networking event you can also run, something we're doing for clients where it's a more formal structure. So you have a long sit down table in a private room or venue, and you have a speaker hosting a presentation. So this will work for different ICPs. So maybe if you're targeting finance or legal or someone a bit more formal, or C-suites, they might lean into this more. But I think the key takeaway when you're running an event to fast track your deals is to think about what is the hook. So are you offering people networking? Are you offering them an amazing speaker? Are you offering them an amazing venue with a lovely tasting menu? So just think about what the offer is if it's for cold outreach, but don't be scared and give it a go because you've got nothing to lose.
Yeah, okay. So like a private dining event, would you kind of say?
Yeah, private dining event. It's like sit down meal. They have to pre-order their food. And I think the benefit of that is you get to present, you get that memorable moment. It's less networking. So you have more control over the conversation and potentially a bit of an easier sales pitch afterwards. But different ICPs will lean into different sort of structures.
And I think that can work well. I think the attendee list hopefully can just build and be impressive. It's a bit like when you go to an exhibition and they say, here's the speakers, and it's usually from companies that you recognize. So if you're in a particular industry and you can get some impressive, either they're kind of influencer type figures or they work for big influential brands. So when you do these events, I know that you've taught me this, is that you should invite some of your clients. Not many, because obviously, you've already sold to them, but yes, strengthening relationship with clients and upselling to clients is obviously also really important. But if you can just get the ball rolling with a couple of like half decent brands or influencers in the space, ideally, then when you're reaching out to other people, you say, oh, well, the CEO of so-and-so company is going to be there and the CFO of that company is going to be there. So you're going to meet them for the first time, and they're quite big players in your space. Obviously, you may probably not want to be inviting like competitors to the table, and it'll be a bit of a knives out situation. But if you are, in the space of, construction tech, and you can just bring some construction tech experts, as soon as you've got like one or two big recognizable players, that's when you're going to kind of open up the floodgates of other people that want to come and kind of meet that person. And you should be able to just, hopefully just create a really good networking event. I know those are super powerful.
Absolutely. And then just a final bonus tip is I have also run international roundtables. International makes it sound very fancy. Virtual roundtables when you're targeting an international or not a local audience. So once again, had a author of a book speak on the roundtable and do a short presentation and then get people to network. I would say anything virtual doesn't hit the same, but it wasn't without value, and it's a lot easier to run at a regular cadence and build a community. So if you are reaching out to an ICP that's overseas, etc., definitely consider that.
Yeah, there's pros and cons to the virtual versus physical event, definitely.
Yes.
There's obviously loads of pros to the virtual event because no one has to leave their house. But the big con is people are kind of zoned out and not particularly engaged. There is, real magic in meeting people face to face. And this whole episode really is about building relationships, isn't it? And building your network. And there's no more powerful way to do that than actually meeting face to face in person, and a bit of food and maybe throwing some booze as well. And it's and really strong relationships start to happen there. So yeah, but obviously the con is you're limited geographically, and it's the time getting people to travel. So therefore, perhaps it's not something that you can do regularly. Like you could do a virtual roundtable once a week kind of thing. But the power of physical events is massive, and also not so many companies are doing it. Obviously, post COVID and post work from home revolution, it's not happening as much anymore. So when they do happen, it's even more special. So yeah, it's worth giving it a go. I think if you
there you go, book your plane tickets and go over to the US, you'll get better close rate.
Well, we have a client that flies to the US to do sales meetings because they're like $100,000 deals. So yeah, absolutely.
Get the Amex points in.
So moving on, number 4, what is the next campaign we are going after?
So following the theme of building relationships, beating AI, we are going into direct mail campaigns.
Old school.
Old school. I'm not talking about sending flyers through people's letterboxes, but direct mail campaigns are a very old school ABM tactic, but a really great way to break through the noise. I put this towards the end of the list because I think when you're doing direct mail, you should have some form of relationship. I wouldn't do a cold direct mail campaign. They should have already engaged with something. So this could be as light touch as one of your dream list downloading a guide on death of software, whatever the software you're trying to replace is, and you could send them a little coffin full of sweets or something like that.
Or the death of Excel in HR.
Never heard that one before. Yeah, exactly. No. It is exactly that. Death of whatever it is you're replacing. So you villainize the old way, and then you just send them a bag of Halloween sweets, basically. So you're not really creating anything bespoke. You're sending it with a flyer, you package it up, you send it out. So that's for, say, like an ebook lead where they notoriously don't convert very well. You're creating a little magic moment. You're actually creating a multi-channel campaign, making it far more memorable. And anyone who downloaded a software style guide is arguably a little bit more middle funnel than just top of funnel, the state of marketing in 2025. So that's one way you could do it at scale, a direct mail campaign. But what we love is more personalized campaigns here at Rocket SaaS, don't we? So some things I've seen work really well in the past is if you go to an expo or you host an event, you could do a direct mail follow-up. So just another lovely touch point to make people feel really special. So something I did once around Christmas time was I sent everyone a box of celebrations wrapped up in a Christmas wrapper, big bow, little Christmas card in it. £5 a box, and it's just cool, isn't it? Like if you receive that in the office, it's lovely.
Something that you can share with the team, and everyone goes, "Who sent these? Who sent these?
Exactly."
Who sent these?
And it's thoughtful because it's wrapped up and it's handwritten notes, etc. So when I have done those sort of campaigns, historically I do get 1 in 10 book a demo. That's quite a solid figure I've had probably across about 5 campaigns, but it is about being more meaningful and thoughtful in what you do. Another type of direct mail campaign that a lot of people shout about is handwritten letters. So there's bots now that can do handwritten letters. So when you're reaching out to the C-suite, rather than sending an email, if you do want to break through the noise, that's quite a low cost, highly scalable way that you could test. And then just another quick example that's a bit more digital. What I've seen work really well is sending like lunch and learn vouchers. So if you do a virtual roundtable or you do a webinar highly targeted to your ICP, everyone who attends, you give a £20 delivery voucher to. There's lots of websites. I think there's one called Prezzo, where if you can send them the code, and if they don't claim the code, you don't pay for it. So yeah, that's just another nice way. I know that's not necessarily direct mail, but the whole point is you're creating magic moments, you're giving something to your customer and you're not just asking.
Yes, I like that. And another thing to layer on to that is a salesperson following up. So if you sent someone something in the post, first of all, you kind of want to know if it got there. But the salesperson calling up, and then it's a nice cold call. It's not a horrible cold call of, hey, would you like to book a demo of my software? It's a cold call to say, hey, I was the guy, or we were the team that sent that funny coffin in the post to you, or did you get my delivery voucher? And hopefully they'll go, yes, yeah, we got that. It was really nice. Yeah, we shared the chocolates with the team. It was lovely. And then you're off to a great start to the cold call. And then you obviously introduce yourself and try and get that call set up with whoever, or get that demo booked. So yeah, it works particularly well when you try and follow up. So your salesperson is going to love it. If you say to your salesperson, great news, I've just sent 100 boxes of chocolates to people, they're going to be rubbing their hands going, yeah, can't wait to ring them up. And obviously, following with emails and LinkedIn DMs. And it'd be pretty rude of someone to ghost you after you've
you've given them a box of chocolate.
After you've just given them a box of chocolate. So again, comes down to building relationships, and sending someone a nice gift in the post. That is a form of building a relationship, and therefore most people are nice when other people have done nice things to them. Most people are rude to people that they've never met before and they just had some annoying cold outreach. Most people are nice if you've got that little relationship happening already. So you should at least get a response.
Yeah, I think that's so important. I wouldn't do this without alignment with sales, because it will just be wasting money. So yeah, that's a really great point.
All right, well, let's move on to the fifth and final campaign of how to win these big clients and doing this ABM play. What is it?
Tailoring your campaigns to your ICP. So this isn't quite as catchy as the other categories, but it's really, really important. So what the whole premise behind this campaign is basically sitting down with your team and really thinking about your ICP and your decision makers. So where we were sending out coffins full of sweets, etc., for deaf software, that's very company centric. How can you create something completely bespoke to your ICP and their needs to say, I hear you, I know what you are struggling with, and this is how we solve it. So at Rocket SaaS, we're always tailoring campaigns to our clients. So an example is of an ABM campaign we're doing for one, is we have a legal firm, a legal tech, who is targeting private injury firms. What their ICP cares about is getting more intakes. So it's a US client, it's a very commercial business, and they want more intakes from people that are struggling with personal injuries, if that's the right way to phrase it. So what we're doing for this campaign is we're mystery shopping everyone on their ICP target list. So they've drawn up a list of their 50 top customers. We've been warming them up on LinkedIn, and now we've got someone who's going to call through all their different offices and measure how long it takes them to answer, what their response rate is like, etc. What we're going to then do is benchmark all that data across of their competitors, the other people on our list, and use that for really personalized outreach. So it's very much leaning into the problem we know they struggle with based on the conversations we've had in sales calls, etc., and then tailoring all our outreach and trying to add value and a free report and a free benchmark based on that. So that's one example. Another example is Rocket SaaS. So as Ryan mentioned earlier, we are targeting startups after funding because we have a really great fit there. It's a great time for them to work with an agency like us. So what we're doing is we've searched Crunchbase. When they are at a funding stage, we're sending them a bottle of champagne, a nice personalized note, and we're just saying, congratulations from the Rocket SaaS team.
Yeah, congratulations, Rocket SaaS team, for raising funding. Here's a bottle of champagne. And then, like I said earlier, our salesperson is then going to follow up and hopefully get hold of the person that got the champagne and get a conversation going. So they've got a bottle of champagne. They've got 2 million quid.
Happy days.
No brainer. Work with us.
Yeah.
So, that's the play that we're doing at the moment.
And I think just the final sort of call to action would be, if you wanted to see what a personalized campaign could look like for your organization, Rocket SaaS offer a free strategy audit. So if you get in touch, we can have a look at your website and suggest some creative ideas of what that could look like for you to help you move up market and close deals faster.
Yes, shameless plug. Thank you, Jess. That's what marketing is all about. That's partly one of Rocket SaaS's USPs is a lot of our competitors, a lot of agencies just do the same campaign for everybody. There's not a lot of uniqueness into what they do. But yeah, we're always trying to find that unique angle as to what particular marketing campaign, particularly this kind of ABM play, if you're going after bigger clients. Because ultimately, if you are going after bigger clients, if you're going after these six-figure deals, trying to target busy, expensive C-suite people, doing a bunch of LinkedIn ads, driving to a landing page, hoping they're going to fill out a form is not often going to work. The salespeople doing cold email and cold calling is probably not going to work either. You really do need to often think outside the box. That stuff kind of layers on and helps build out the funnel and the demand gen, but you often need some kind of unique, you could call it a lead magnet or an engagement campaign, a relationship building campaign. So yeah, we often work closely with the client. So it's either we create the campaign and do like the whole thing for them, or we consult about the event type of thing. Obviously we can't host events for you, but we can consult and we can create all the marketing material to promote the event and promote the breakfast, dinner, whatever you're doing. So yeah, that is often a really helpful play to just boost that whole demand generation side of things.
Amazing. So I think if there was going to be a final word for me, it would be don't think about these campaigns in isolation. They work best when together. So using the direct mail to follow up with the podcast guests, inviting people on the podcast after they've done your research, outreach. So think about it as the whole playbook that you can continually keep doing multiple touch points with a series of your ICP stakeholders.
Yeah, so I think, scaling a business, scaling a marketing function, unfortunately, it's not a case of just trying one campaign and it's likely to work and you keep doing it. You try lots of different things. So, here at Rocket SaaS, we're about a 2 million turnover business, about 35 headcount, something like that. So, and all the things that you've mentioned, I think we're doing all of them, aren't we? We're doing, obviously we're doing a podcast literally right now as we speak. We're doing a direct mail campaign that you spoke about. We're not doing the research piece, actually. That's probably the one thing that we're not doing. But we are also doing the event one that you spoke about and the custom campaigns. So yeah, just trying these different ones and exploring which one's working. And yeah, we know that they are all certainly having an impact in that whole demand gen play of people just knowing us, liking us, trusting us, that brand awareness, seeing us everywhere, building relationships. And then, we're just trying to learn from the data as to which campaigns are working. So yeah, there's hopefully given you some ideas there as to different marketing campaigns that you can try to win massive big deals. So thank you so much, Jess Chilman, for coming onto the podcast, and hopefully we will get the hat trick booked in. This is your second time on the pod, so hopefully we'll get the third one soon. We'll probably get that done before the end of the summer. So watch this space, and thank you so much for listening to the SaaS Marketing Weekly podcast. See you next time.